We shall start with an example which will allow us to grab information that is important to us and store it in a spreadsheet. So let's say that we have a folder, our inbox folder here. So let's say that we have a folder in which every day files are being saved within, and our task is to move each file out of the folder within one of these folders here, either documents or reports, depending on the file name, and having done so, also append the name of the file in our archived files spreadsheet here. Okay, so this is our job, and we will start by using the Excel actions. And first of all, what we need to do is launch the Excel file. We can either launch an empty Excel document, or we can open the following one. By opening the Excel file, we will then see My Files. What was the name of the file? Archived files.xlsx. There we are. Having opened the file, we can either open it and have it in the foreground where we can see what's going on, files being appended to it and all the rest, or we can untick that option and have it working in the background where we'll never see what's going on. In our case, we'll just leave it open because we want to be able to see what's going on. As in output, the launch Excel variable has the Excel instance one. Using it, you can actually use more than one Excel files open at the same time within the same job and do different things to it. Grab information from the one, append it to the other, and vice versa. So this is a variable that we'll be using throughout the whole job. Okay. Okay, so once we have that one, we will then need to find out whereabouts on our Excel file we want to append the new information. We would obviously want to write it to the first row, available, and not append it on the first row or any other row where we already have some information within. So we will use the get first row and column action and specify that for the Excel instance that we previously opened, that we want to get the first three column and first three row. In our example, since we only have 2 columns we will be using, there's no need for us to use the first 3 columns, so I'll just leave that one blank and grab the first 3 row alone. Okay. Once we've done that, we know that the first 3 row would be row 16, so we would now want to define that we want to write the current date, today's date, since today the files will be processed on the first column. So we will then use the get current date and time action, and here we have the option of getting either the date and time or the date alone. Well, since we are only using the date alone, I'll also rename this variable to make it more specific. So this value here, the value that the current date variable holds, will be the one that we will be appending every time the job runs. Okay, so now we have the value, and what we need to do now is write to the Excel file. So back to the Excel actions, we use the write to Excel option, and as I said before, we will be using the Excel instance throughout the whole job, and the value we want to write would be the current date one. Okay, now we want to write it to the first column, so I'll just add the number 1 there. And as row, well, as I said before, we did not know which the first row will be, but we'll let WinAutomation find that out for us. Okay, so if we did run this job now, it will append on the first row, it would append the current date. But we do not only want to append the current date, we also do want to get a list of all these files within the inbox, and for each one of those we want to write them within our Excel spreadsheet. So what we'll do is we'll use the get files in folder action and define that for the inbox folder. Any file that's within it, we do not have to specify anything because we already know that it's only XLSX files within it. For any file that's in it, we want to get a list of all the files. So this variable here holds a list of the files found within the inbox folder. Okay, So now that we have the list of files, there is a specific pattern we want to repeat for each one of those items on the list. So we will use the loop for each action and define that for each one item on the list, we want to do a specific number of actions. So since we're talking about files, I'll rename this one to current file so that I know that every time I'm using a file, which is different to the previous iteration, obviously. Okay, so having done so, I want to check now. I will need to check whether the file I'm processing at each time, whether it's a report or it's another document file. So what I will do is, using the if condition action, check whether the current file name, if it starts with report, that means that it's a report. And in that case, I would want to move that file within the reports folder. Okay, so I would be moving the current file into the report folder. As you can see here, all files in here do hold the report. Okay, that's done. But what happens for all the rest that do not start with the report? What do we want to do? Well, we want to send them in the documents folder. So what we'll do is, using an else condition that can only go within the if and end if set of actions, I will tell if it does not begin with report, then I want to move the file, the current file that would be. Okay, and I want to move it within my documents. That's okay then. Having done so, I would then need to specify that not only do I want to move files, but I also want to keep a record of them being moved within my Excel spreadsheet. So within the for each loop and loop actions, I would use the write to Excel action. Once again, define the Excel instance. Okay, and I would like to write the current file name again. So I know that I want to write it on my second column. That's there. And for the first iteration, as I said before, we did get the current date on the first column, and for the first iteration on the second column, I would be able to write the current file. But what happens if I write here first row? Okay, so this will be 16, both for the date and for the first file. But what will happen when the first loop has gone through and we're back to the second loop where the first row still has the same value? Well, in this case, since the first free row is a numeric type variable, what I would need to do is, for each loop that goes through, I would like to increase the first free row variable and increase it by 1 so that I know that each file gets appended to the next followed row. Okay. Okay, so once we've done so, and we do have all our files written within our Excel spreadsheet, what we need to do now is obviously close the Excel file and save all the changes that have been done within it. That we do using the close Excel action, where we define the Excel instance, and we do want to save the document, but we do have other options as well. We can either not save it or save it as a different name. So I'll go for the save document. Okay, and I'm saving it there. So I'll just close this one there. I do not want to save it at the moment. And I'll have this one running. Okay, if I let it run, we will now see that everything is getting appended as we said it should. That's great. Same-wise, you can follow the steps we followed before to append to the worksheet any other information you want, just by defining which value will be appended to which column, and so on. Okay, and it closed, and that's it. The second feature we will examine tonight would be reading from the Excel file and appending the values retrieved to a third-party application. So we will retrieve information from an Excel spreadsheet, not that one, obviously. Oh, I forgot to mention before that our inbox folder is now missing all the files, and they have successfully been moved to our folders. Okay, so for a second example now, we suddenly retrieve information from an Excel file that contains information over a project and transfer the values to our Outlook task manager. So these are the tasks. Oops. These are the tasks that we want to move into our Excel Outlook. And for each one of those, we want to create a new task and assign it to the person that's supposed to run the task. So we have here the assignee. Okay, so if we open our example here, our job here, as we did before, here too we do need to define the Excel file that we want to use. So using the launch Excel file, we'll open the following document, and that document would be, okay, that would be the projects one. We do want to have it visible because we want to know what's going on, and we need to make sure that we know which instance we've saved here. Okay. Once we've saved it, once we've opened it, as you can see here on our Excel spreadsheet, there are more than one worksheet available, and we need to define that we only want the information coming from the second worksheet. So what we need to do next is set the active worksheet to be our tasks worksheet. We'll define the Excel instance we're using, and we can define the worksheet two ways. We can either use the index saying that it's the second worksheet that we want to use, or we can define the name of the worksheet by typing here the name. So I'll just write here tasks. Okay. Now, as before, here again, we will not know how many tasks we have available within our project. So what we'll need to do is get the first row and column for our Excel instance, and find out how many how many tasks we would have in our Excel spreadsheet. Here again, we do not actually need the first row column because we do have a set number of columns that we will be using. So I'll just delete that one again. Okay. Having done so, we now want to retrieve all the information from the Excel spreadsheet using the read from Excel action. We define here the Excel instance. Okay. And we can either retrieve a single cell value, which would be useless to us at the moment, but using the range of cells would be what we actually need. So we need to grab information from column 1, which would be this one here, and row 1, starting there, ending at column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, column 7. Now, about the row now, well, we did say before that we would like to grab information to the first free row, but if we do have an iteration going through for the first free row, which would be number 9, well, that one would be blank, and we would not want to repeat a procedure for an empty cell. So if we add a -1 there, we would then know that instead of 9, since it's a numeric type variable, we can delete a cell and saying that we want to go for number 8. Okay, so here we do have headers on our columns, so we will just take this option here saying that the first row does contain column names. Now, the output of this variable would be, the output of this action would be the Excel data variable. The Excel data variable is nothing more than a table, so what it will hold would be that. It's a list of rows and a list of columns, as we'll see in the next action. Okay. Now, well, since we have retrieved all the information we need in our Excel data variable, we no longer need to have the Excel open, so we'll just close it. We'll define the Excel instance. Well, we did not make any changes, so we will not save the document. Okay. Now, we do want to repeat a specific pattern of steps. We want to repeat a specific number of steps for each item, for each task. So once again here we will use the loop for each action, and we will loop through our Excel data table that contains rows and columns. So for Excel data, I must inform you here that our Excel data, when it goes through iteration, the first thing it will do is iterate through the rows. So through the first loop, it will go through each one of those rows. And then, once you have each one of those rows, it will loop through each one of those cells. So here in the current item, I'll just write current row to help me go through the tasks in an easier way. Okay. Now, for each one of those, what we want to do is retrieve this information from there and append it to our new task. So what I'll do now, we must make sure that we have Outlook on the foreground, and we must make sure that it's in focus. So I'll use the focus window action, and using the target, I'll drag and drop my target into the Outlook, and this way it will always focus prior to doing anything else. Well, since I want my next action to be the send keys action, so that I can actually send in a Control-N keystroke and open a new task. Okay, so if I use the send keys action, and I want to send a Control-N, if you notice here, once I select the modifier and select for control, it will automatically open a parenthesis and close a parenthesis for me. This means that if I want to make any other keystrokes being sent while the control key is also pressed, I can just enter them within the parenthesis, which is what I'm doing now. Okay, so the Control-N key will actually open a new window for me, which will be the new task one. So I should tell the program that I'm actually waiting for a window to open prior to doing anything else. So using the wait for window action, I will drag and drop the target once again, and I'm going to inform it that I'm waiting for a new a window named Untitled Task. I'll wait for it to open, and once it opens, I will want to send some keys directly to it. So I'll also specify that I want to focus on the window once it has opened. Okay. So now that we've waited for the window is open, and what do we want to do then? Well, we want to assign a task. So we want to get here. But we do not want to use mouse clicks. So what we'll do is we're going to use keystrokes. The keystrokes that we will be using would be Alt to open the options, and then using an 8 to go for the Task tab, and having gone there, we will then use a ZD, okay, and finally a B, and that would give us the window where we would be able to fill in the name and address for each person to receive the task that's nominated to them. So let's go back to our job here and use the send keys. And now what we did was we waited for the window to open and we sent through some keys. Those were the Alt key, and then we sent the 8 key. As you can see here, I'm typing within the parentheses. Then we used a ZD key. Oops, those would be separately put through. And then we wanted a B key. Let's do it again here. I'll close that one. No. Control-N, Alt, 8, Z, D, B. There we are. That's great. So once we're here, we can see here that we're in focus to the to field, which means that we can now send through the name of the assignee, copy it, and once I've sent it through, it will then expect me to send through a tab to fill in the email address. So what I'll do here is since my current row, which is, sorry about that, there you go. This is my current row, okay, and the field I want from here would be the third column, which is named after assignee. So what I'll do here is, for my current row, I want the column named assignee. I can also use the name of the column, since I did define previously in the read from Excel action that my first row does contain column names. Okay, so I did send through the assignee name, and after that I did want to send a tab. That's right. But having done so, I would also be needing to send another tab to go down to the subject field. So what I'll do here is I'll do that to get a second tab as well. Okay, so now we're in the tab and we need to fill in the subject. So back to our Excel spreadsheet, we'll use the task, which would be this one here. Now, at this point, we must just as well say that all data tables and lists are zero-based in WinAutomation, which would mean that we will start counting from 0. So this field here would be cell 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if we want the second column, that would be current row 1. So let's write that one name, current row 1. Okay, so we've got the task name within our, oops, sorry about that. There it is. So we have the subject, and we then want to send another tab to go to the date. So we fill in a tab there. You can either write it yourself, or you can select it through the miscellaneous and tab. There you go. So we're there, we send the tab, we go to the start dates, and the start date is on the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, on column 5. So that would be current row 5, sorry. Current row 5. Excellent. Another tab to go to current row, to the due date. So tab, and we would then want current row 6, because it's on 6, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, great, excellent. Okay, and we do not want to fill in any status or priority or anything else, so from here we'll just send enough tabs to get us down to the body, so that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. Tab 6. Great, so we now want to send in the description, and that would be within 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's current row 4. Great. Okay, so did we say we have the description here? We would want to send it, but yet again, we do not want to send any mouse clicks, so we'll just send through the Alt-S, which would send the message. This is only a sample one, so I won't send it. I'll just close it. No. So let's go here and fill in the Alt and S to send the email. Okay, that's great. Now, at this point, our job is complete. We do not really need to do anything else. So what I'll do is I'll close this one here. No. I'll download that one. Okay. Well, at the moment, if I start sending through the keystrokes, the delay within it will be too fast. I mean, 10 milliseconds in between keys being sent is too fast for us to be able to see and check what's going on. So I'll test that one to 25 milliseconds per keystroke. And I will also change the artificial delay to be 300 rather than 100, which is the default in WinAutomation, so that we can observe all actions being sent and everything running. Okay, I'm sending it, and let's run. Okay, it's reading, it's focused, it's in the keystrokes. Great. That's the second one. Excellent. Same wise, you can automate any third-party application and send the values retrieved from the Excel file to it. Okay. This is very, very slow at the moment, but if you do run it through the console, you'll see that it would have finished by now, a long time earlier actually. Okay, so that's all with the read from Excel actions as well. There are so many things you can automate using WinAutomation. Any third-party application can be automated the same way. Okay. Now, for the third example, which would be the SQL now, well, at this point we'll examine SQL queries being sent to an Excel spreadsheet, automating procedures in a more advanced way. Well, it's obvious that for such jobs, a minimum knowledge of the SQL functions is necessary. Okay, so you're obviously asking yourselves, why would you make use of the SQL queries against an Excel file rather than use the read from Excel action? Well, that answer is actually pretty simple. When we use the SQL query, you save time because you do not have to launch the Excel application, and if your Excel file has a couple of thousand of rows, rather than it taking a couple of hours to complete, you would just get results within the very first minutes. So I'll just open my job here. To start with, we would need to have the connection string we would be using. I have my one saved here. As you can see here, as the source, I've already set it to be the Excel file, which is what I will always do at the beginning. I set a variable named the Excel file, and in the Excel file variable, I always save the path and the file name of my Excel spreadsheet I'll be using. This way I do not have to modify the connection string every time. You can find your connection string at connectionstrings.com. So having done so, I can now Control-A, Control-C, copy and paste it. So my connection string is ready. For our example, what we will be doing is we have our Excel spreadsheet. This is sample XLSX, and that contains product names and their types. We want to check to find the total number of products that have MA as a prefix, such as this one here, and as a prefix to their product name. So we will write to the SQL statement. So we will start with using the select statement, and we can see that the only difference between SQL and SQL for Excel would be that instead of us only writing the if in SQL we will just write product name, but in Excel we have to define it in brackets. So we want to grab product name, and we also want to grab the type. Okay, they're both within brackets, and we want to grab it from, well, here we do not actually have a table name, but we do have a worksheet name. So our worksheet is products. So I'll type that one in there. And the only difference between between products and the column names would be that we do have to define worksheets using the dollar symbol. Okay, so having done so, we now need to define which ones we want. We only want the ones that have MA as their prefix, so we'll say where product name is like, well, when you write SQL, you would write this, right? Well, in WinAutomation, there is a small, you have to do something different. When you have the percentage symbol, in order for WinAutomation to read it as a literal percentage symbol, which is what we need in SQL, you would have to add a slash prior to it. Okay. Okay, so the output of this variable would yet again be a data table, And so what we want to do is we only want to count the number of results that we get. So what I'll do here is I'll select the rows count for the table that I found. So we are actually looking into 1, 2, 3. We should have 3 as a result. So let's see what's going to get at. There it is, 3. 1 there, 1 there, and 1 there. 3. Now, scene-wise, you can actually do more functions. You can actually use the insert function, in which you would obviously use the same connection string. Okay, for example, let's say that you would want to add a new product within your Excel spreadsheet. What you would do is write the insert into a statement, and you would have to define the spreadsheet. Now, it's very important that you have a $sign in the spreadsheet, otherwise you would not be able to, you would be getting errors and stuff like that. Now, here you can either define that you want to, that you do not want to define any column names, or you do want to define column names. Well, I'll just add the column names just so you how you should do it. So product name. Here we do not have the names of the columns within brackets. We just have them as they are. Okay, and they do have to go in a parenthesis. And the values would be, for each column we need a value, so it should go in that order. So let's say that I want to add an MV555555. Okay. And the type, I would like it to be movies. Okay. Okay then. So if I keep my eyes on the spreadsheet, when I run it, I should get a new line on 22 saying MV5555 movies. That's fine. So as we can see here, we can also see that on row number 20, we are missing a value for the type for this product here. This could happen for more or less thousands and thousands of rows where we do not have a type, but we do need to define one because we just got a instruction that we should do. So what do we do then? Well, in that case, we could use the update statement, in which we would update the product spreadsheet. Okay, and we would like to set our type to be equal to, okay, I'll just put test for the time being. Okay, but which one should it update? Well, we obviously want to only update this one here, which would be anything that starts with an MV where the type is actually blank. So we would not want it to update this one or that one. So what I'll do is I'll write where product name, okay, is like MV, and as I said before, percentage should only will only be valid if we have a slash prior to it, and where the type is null, which means that the type is empty. Okay, so if I run it, I should see here the word test appended. Okay, if I run it, perfect. Now, this same-wise, it would update all fields where the type would be null and the MV and the product name would start with MV. Okay, we always need to make sure that we embrace in brackets all column names in order for the queries to work. And this is how we can use the SQL functions to handle an Excel spreadsheet. So imagine how easy things will work. Did you only want to apply changes such as in spreadsheets that contain thousands of rows? Thank you very much for attending our webinar. There will be more webinars coming up soon. Have a nice night and thank you for attending. Ciao.